Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Canis, and this is another Beyond the Courage podcast. I'm super excited today. We have an amazing guest today, an amazing mycologist. Hamilton Pevec is with us today. How are you doing, Hamilton?
Wow, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Robert.
Uh, would you be so kind and introduce yourself, what you do in your work? There's so many things you do. There's so many projects you are involved into.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Hamilton Pevec. I like the way you pronounced it, Pevitz. That's like I think the proper, motherland pronunciation. As far as I know, it means I'm Slovenian, but it means rooster, which is also synonymous with singer. Uh, my father's side of the family is Slovenian, but anyhow, I I'm a entrepreneur. I'm the founder of Hamilton's Mushrooms. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a mushroom club president, and I'm the executive director of the Eagle Mushroom Festival. And
Mhm.
I, what can I say? I spent most of my life as a filmmaker, and then kind of metaphorically quit that job and dedicated my life to mushrooms. And spend most of my time uh, raising my kids. But what I, do in my free time is go mushroom hunting and wander around the forest in the backcountry of Colorado.
Do you remember that first moment where mushrooms start calling you? That,
Absolutely, yeah.
that spark?
It was the cannabis harvest season of 2009 when I was trimming cannabis in Northern California, and I was working with a guy who at that time had 16 years of experience with wild mushroom identification and taxonomy. And that, basically we'd work and then we'd go on breaks and go hike and collect mushrooms. And, I had the benefit of this expert to take me on mushroom hunts. And that really sparked the wonder and the joy of mushroom hunting for me personally. And, I didn't know it at the time, but the energy was quite strong. And that moment radically changed my life and the trajectory of my life. And after that, I went out and bought Mushrooms Demystified by David Aurora and Mycelium Running by Paul Stamets, and then just started to read and do mycology as much as I could, from wild mushroom identification to cultivation, and then ultimately that path led me to medicinal mushrooms and becoming a consultant and a broker for many years, getting involved in the global mushroom industry, and then launching my own brand and going direct to consumer, and using all that revenue then to finance my films and to support mycology around the world in whichever facet that I can.
Awesome. Do you remember what have encouraged you to found the Hamilton's Mushroom Company? What
Yeah,
was the
I
main
was
reason?
I was working as a consultant for very large global mushroom brands and was intimate with the global supply chain of mushrooms and how people were using them and who was growing them and who was buying them and the qualities of these different products. And I could see that there was a sort of hole in the market where most of these large companies were using low quality extracts when there was much better products available
Hmm.
to provide. And also, nobody was offering meaningful amounts. Like you could only buy a month of mushroom extracts at a time. And so I was thinking I would go high potency, organic, and bulk to provide, 6 months or a year's worth of mushrooms at a time. And so that was sort of the impetus, but also, what I really wanted to do was make movies. That's my passion, along with mycology, but that's like my creative work. And I wanted to really only make movies about mushrooms And so I thought, it's hard enough as it is to finance films, period, let alone to finance these very niche subject films. Um, so, so really, the company was the idea to finance these films. And so some of my early campaigns were like mushrooms for movies. And so if I would make a film under the banner of Hamilton's Mushrooms, then ideally that film helps drive sales, even though it's not exactly a commercial. And so I found a way to finance the films that I truly want to make, and did not expect it to work so well as it has. And now I'm running a company with multiple talented folks and getting to, create cool films and work with amazing people. And I couldn't be happier at how well it worked out.
Yeah, that's a beautiful idea. I really love it. Do you see how the consciousness is shifting to human consciousness? Guys like Paul Stamets talks a lot about potential of mushrooms. There's more and more people going into the psychedelics. Do you think that there is still so much to discover, referring to this amazing magical mushroom universe on this planet?
Yeah, I mean, mycology is considered a mega science. And, at the current rate of discovery in terms of wild mushroom taxonomy, just to give you a sense of how far behind we are in learning about just this one small corner of mycology, which is mushroom identification. Mm-hmm. At the current rate of describing new species, it's going to take us 800 years before we describe all the mushrooms. And now, to put that into context, we've already described all the plants and all the animals for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very rare that we discover new species of plants or animals, but every time you go on a mushroom hunt, you can make a new discovery of a new species. And, when it comes to things like psilocybin producing mushrooms and the impact that this little compound has on humanity and the way our brain functions and the way our physiology works and the potential that it has for healing. This is, again, just a tiny little subsection of this mega science we call mycology. But mycology can impact every aspect of the way we live in our society, in our civilization. It can affect our food systems. It can affect our industry. It can affect textiles. It can affect our waste management. It can affect our education. It can affect, our medicine in profound ways. The subsection of that we refer to like, how do we use fungi for the benefit of our communities and society? We call that applied mycology. So turning mycelium into different goods, using mushrooms as a model for biomimicry. How, the ways that we can practice applied mycology are limited to your imagination. And we are continually learning new and amazing things about the nature of mycelium and its role in ecology, and then how that can factor into our quality of life and us. There's a lot of metaphors that people use, a lot of connections between the nature of mycelium and humanity, and that's part of why people are excited about it right now, is because it ignites wonder and mystery and potential, and gives us hope for this sort of idealistic future where anything is possible and mushrooms have the answer. People say, it's trending. Oh, it's trending, like, oh, you've seen it in the fashion world and there's mushroom prints everywhere. And like, there's, like, you're just seeing it penetrate all these different cultural and subcultural aspects. And but that's been going on for like 5 years. Trends don't last that long.
Yeah.
It's here to stay. This is like transcended the trend category and is now very much a part of our lives, and which is a benefit to everyone. And it's exciting to see more people get excited about it, because it reminds me of the wonder and the mystery that I felt 16 years ago on my first mushroom hunt, and had the benefit of an expert to help me understand why they're so fucking cool to begin with. And
Yeah.
so that, I mean, that's a big reason why I support mycology in my work, why I started the Western Colorado Mycological Association, why I organize and run and support mushroom festivals all over the country, is to communicate that passion to others, so that there's more inspired people working to solve our problems together. And all it takes is a good idea and a little support to bring that idea to fruition. And mushrooms are just an amazing source of inspiration. And I'm just thrilled that so many people are getting excited about it.
Yeah, I'm so excited about the mushroom world, and I feel guided by mushrooms more and more in my life. Do you feel guided by mushrooms? Do you have some very deep personal connection with some specific mushrooms?
Yeah, sometimes I think like I've been inoculated because of the way that mycelium and spores can enter our bodies. We breathe spores in every breath, and we all do every day. And there are mushrooms, entopathogenic mushrooms, that will literally take over other living organisms and keep them alive and then control their behavior.
Wow.
And, this is like cordyceps. This is probably one of the most famous mushrooms because of pop culture, video games, television. The zombie fungus idea is real. Now, the likelihood of a mushroom, cordyceps, being able to, affect humans in the conventional way is highly unlikely. But the truth is, any mushroom, all it needs to do, any species of fungi, in order to fruit and flourish, the conditions for that species need to be perfect. So temperature, moisture, light, all of these things, when they come into balance, the mushrooms fruit. And so my hypothesis is that the cordyceps designed for humans, the conditions just aren't right yet. Conventional cordyceps can't live in our bodies, but
So what should change
they're too hot.
to
Our
hot?
bodies are too hot. But what we know factually is that our internal body temperatures are systematically lowering, and our external temperatures are systematically rising. And so there is going to be an equilibrium where maybe the conditions are just right for a mutant cordyceps to infect us. Now, that's all just context to say that we still don't know very much about fungi, and they could be affecting us in ways we can't even comprehend. You take something like psilocybin, and the fact that we have receptors in our brain that can receive this natural compound that happens to be very close to the shape of serotonin, and plug into our serotonin receptors, and then radically change our perception and change our behavior in positive and meaningful ways. Mushrooms make people more empathetic. They make better humans.
I
Magic mushroom.
completely agree with. Yeah, I
And
completely agree
so,
with that.
that's a kind of manipulation on a grand scale like altruistic manipulation on a grand scale that I think should be considered when we talk about, our relationship with fungi as a species. Why would I do their bidding? Why do I want everyone, why do I want to educate on mycology? There is a fun consideration in that I am working for the mushrooms in some facet. The mechanism by which they control me, who knows? Maybe it's a combination of breathing spores and having used psilocybin in the past. Maybe it's far more deeper genetic, co-evolutionary kind of relationship. Like mammals would not have won the evolutionary race over reptiles and amphibians after the dinosaurs won out unless they partnered with fungi. So let me say that in another way. Mammals beat reptiles and amphibians after the dinosaurs were wiped out because they developed evolutionary and co-evolutionary relationships with fungi. Now, the primary diseases that affect reptiles and amphibians are fungal infections. But we co-evolved with fungi so we can resist fungal infections for the most part. Mm-hmm. But they're integrated into our bodies. Like we need them to digest food and to survive in the wild. And that gives us an evolutionary edge over other species on this planet. And of course, there's the stoned ape theory, which people are really leaning into these days, trying to reinforce it. I don't have a really strong academic opinion on that. However, I do think it is interesting and plausible. And for those of you who don't know about the stoned ape theory, it's basically, early hominids, or early humans following herds of ungulates, herd animals around the continents to hunt those animals, but also to use the byproducts of those animals. So as a tribe of early humans and you're following a herd, you might find their feces, and in those feces are likely going to be mushrooms growing. And what science cannot explain is how the human brain doubled in size over the course of 2 million years or whatever. It went from, the brain got really big really quickly, and we don't know why that happened. And so this stoned ape theory is that we were eating the magic mushrooms or psilocybin containing mushrooms that were growing in the shit of the animals that we were hunting and following. And after, repeated generational use of this, if you think about doing that for 100 generations or more, then that, we know now that psilocybin will increase dendrite growth, literally help grow more brain cells and rebuild broken synapses, and just has this enormous potential for brain health in general. And, it's nice to think wouldn't it be nice if we, the thing is I don't even know the counter arguments to the stoned ape theory. But anyhow, yeah, dude, I feel like the easiest explanation for our brain doubling in size and simultaneously for the passion that the mycological community feels for education and mushrooms, and the way that mycology is spreading so rapidly over the last few years, the simplest explanation for that is the mycelium wants us to do this.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I feel it in my heart.
There's a quote from Saul Williams, who's a poet, musician, activist, amazing human. He says there's nothing more powerful than an idea that's reached its time. And maybe that's what's happening with mushrooms and mycelium and the sort of myco renaissance that we're experiencing in American culture right now. Now, to be fair, Eastern Europe and the Far East, and in particular China, have had rich mushroom cultures for many hundreds and in some cases thousands of years. The Americans are just figuring it out now.
Mm-hmm. So if someone is new to this mycological world, what would be your advice for the one, if someone would like to improve drastically quality of life and health? What the person like this may do right now?
Well,
Where
that's
to
a
start?
that's a broad question. I mean, because there's so many applications for mycology, just to name a few, you have taxonomy, you have cultivation, you have medicinal mushrooms, you have applied mycology. There's so many different ways to get into it. And so my advice would be, if you already know what you like, you can find your way into mycology through the thing that already floats your boat, through your talent, through your own skill and interests. I know artists that have made a living just painting mushrooms. you know, for to use myself and as an example, the thing that's most interesting to me is filmmaking and storytelling. So I tell stories about mushrooms. And of course, medicinal mushrooms. A lot of people have healing experiences first, and then they have a aha moment, a kind of awakening to mycology. I like to imagine that, psilocybin containing mushrooms are the gateway to mycology. You've only heard that mushrooms are magic. And then you have a psilocybin experience, you have a beautiful psychedelic experience, and then you learn, oh, there's this whole mega science we call mycology.
Yeah, that could be one way. Yeah.
I know a lot of people who got into mycology through magic mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same. It's the same for anything. Like if you're a builder, if your passion is design, you can look to mycelium as a starting point for biomimicry. If you're into materials and textiles, that's kind of a crossover between so many different industries, from construction to fashion, using mycelium to create new materials and building blocks and fabrics and you name it. Get into food. Like, my God, food is this whole science into itself, the way mushrooms can be applied not only in cultivation but turning waste into resource, because mushrooms are decomposers. There's just so much. Yeah, that question is too broad. My advice would be, follow your talent, follow your skills into mycology, and then pick what you want to do.
I'm a huge fan of superfoods, and especially mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi mushroom. Been taking these for, I think, a decade, and I've seen how my health and my body change radically. It's unbelievable. I'm very curious. How is your diet? Like, what do you eat on a daily basis? And what part of your diet are mushrooms, microdosing, and etc.?
I don't know if I'm the great example of health for your audience. I do eat a lot of mushrooms, and there's a number of studies that show, eating mushrooms 3 times a week, gourmet food mushrooms 3 times a week will not only increase your longevity, it will decrease all-cause death.
Hmm.
So and then it will also make you happier. These are two different large cohort studies. So just adding them to your diet makes you live longer and makes you live better. And
Which mushroom specifically
these
you
are
have
just
in mind?
all fresh cooked mushrooms.
Hmm. In
You know,
general.
in
Hmm.
general, that's right. These studies were very broad. Um, my I eat regularly shiitake, oyster, lion's mane, and then I take high potency organic mushroom extract powders every day. Between 2 and 4 grams every day, and often more. I use reishi, chaga, turkey tail, cordyceps, lion's mane, oyster, maitake, Phelinus tremulae, Phelinus linteus, Tremella fusiformis. I also supplement vitamins and minerals regularly. I try and eat like a healthy protein breakfast with my morning supplements. I do like a liquid um, protein slash fiber liquid lunch. So I make like a smoothie in the afternoons. One of my favorite supplements is psyllium husk, as a way to just keep me regular and good elimination. So I'm not carrying around any extra weight. Um, and then I try and do lighter dinners, but I don't succeed at that always. My primary healing story with medicinal mushrooms was around managing my blood sugar and the cannabis use. Like smoking too much weed would give me munchies. That would drop my blood sugar, and then I would eat basically uncontrollably.
Hmm.
And I started taking oyster mushroom extract and reishi mushroom extract, and then I stopped getting the munchies, and then that would sort of give me um, an extra support in reducing my cannabis use. So, it got so bad that I would wake up in the middle of the night hungry. And then when I started taking reishi in the evening, I would sleep through the whole night and not wake up hungry. And then I
Wow.
would take oyster mushroom extract during the day, and my blood sugar would never crash. And
Wow.
so this was really a radical change in my lifestyle and behavior, and helped sort of affirm, um, the benefit that mushrooms has on my body. But I was a vegetarian for more than 20 years, and only in the last year and a half did I reintroduce meat eating into my diet. And that was an interesting experience because I kind of had to microdose red meat in order to develop the enzymes to digest it again.
Oh, interesting.
But I eat pretty well, with the exception of my sweet tooth. I still have my sweet tooth, and I wish I could manage it better. But fortunately, I lean on mushrooms to manage my sugar cravings.
Do you have some experience or relation with Amanita muscaria? You said you are Slovenian.
Yeah, no, I mean, no particular Slovenian mushroom connection. My
Hmm.
father's mother was an immigrant. My father's mother came to the U.S. Uh, you know, post World War II, and my father was born in the U.S. And I don't have a strong connection to my Slovenian family, although I have the benefit of having to gone to visit there and Eastern Europe, and um, look forward to going back. But my interest in Amanita muscaria, I think, kind of started like so many other people's interest. You see this iconic mushroom everywhere, the
Hmm.
Mario mushroom, growing up playing video games with this mushroom. And then, of course, it became the emoji mushroom, probably because it was the Mario mushroom first. And, it has all this mythology and lore surrounding it because of its relationship to the Sami people of Northern Europe and the Nordic shaman traditions, and then of course how those kind of bleed into the Saint Nicholas narratives and American Christmas, and like
Christmas, yeah.
it's just all these weird mythologies getting layered on top of each other. And that was really fascinating to me, that there were all these correlations between these different narratives. And most of it is just story. I don't want to belittle the power of story, but that was enough to inspire me to experiment on myself in using Amanita muscaria and how to use it and who to trust in learning how to use it, because there's no oral tradition in my culture. It was basically turning to the people on the internet that seemed like they were legitimate in the research and the experimentations that they were doing. Primarily, the woman who calls herself Amanita Dreamer is where I learned the first extraction methods, which are based on ancient extraction techniques found in the Rig Veda. And we can talk about that, but just like I would experiment on myself. I'd hear a rumor like, oh, you have to eat just the white dots. And then I'd hear another rumor that it was like, oh, you have to peel the skin off, or oh, you have to dry it and then eat it. Oh, and then you have to dry it and fry it. And then so like as I was picking up rumors and stories about how to use this mushroom, I was trying these different things to different degrees of success. But what it boiled down to was going on a mushroom hunt and being called to eat the fresh mushroom, and then overdosing on those fresh mushrooms. And we're talking about eating like 2 bites like this big, and then having a sort of dark night of the soul experience. Oh, that was my son delivering a package.
So just like 2 pieces brought you to the dark night of the soul, right? Experience?
Yeah, 2 fresh, like 2 small pieces of a fresh Amanita muscaria.
Wow.
Is it too loud?
No, that's fine. We're good.
And then, I had fever and vomiting and diarrhea, and then went to sleep for 1,000 years and faced all my demons, and had an experience where I felt like I was being inoculated by Amanita muscaria, and then that really was a one-way door. And when I woke up, and I was very grateful to wake up, I felt like that door could never really be closed again. And that's where my true reverence for Amanita muscaria began. And then the work became very serious in learning how to process it and turn it into a true medicine, and not just some experimental recreational thing, that it is to be taken very seriously and not to be trifled with. And I learned those lessons the hard way, and was fortunate enough to proceed into the next chapter of my relationship with Amanita with caution and reverence, and was able to develop a product, an Amanita muscaria extract that is consistent and safe and effective in treating things like anxiety and insomnia.
And do you think also depression and addiction?
All of those things, yeah. I mean, muscimol can be used in so many beneficial ways. I mean, the research...
For our GABA receptors as well, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, just as a GABA agonist, it's
Hmm.
has a ton of potential. Yeah, and take some honey if you want.
Yeah, I gotta admit that this is a superbly powerful and challenging mushroom. I had a very hardcore experience with this mushroom as well. I took 20 dry grams of it and just
Wow.
literally died. Yeah, that was a
Jeez.
very deep session.
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
And then what was the result for you?
well, it put me to the like a hyperspace when, from let's say Big Bang to now, the whole history of humanity and everything was just maybe like 6 7 seconds, and this cycle was repeating all over for infinity. Yeah. But there was a very deep lesson at the end of it. Yeah, that, like I think I entered this world like too steep, you know. Do you have any favorite psilocybin mushroom? Would you recommend some species for someone who like to, let's say, cure depression, or maybe for addiction, or maybe for improving health?
No, I mean, I don't know strain by strain specifically,
Hmm.
what would be one strain for a particular use. I know I can't really make any recommendations on that. I think
Hmm.
there's enormous amount of potential and research now to support the efficacy of using psilocybin to treat depression and treatment-resistant depression and opioid dependency and alcohol dependency and nicotine dependency, and it's people are using it for just about everything now. Um, what I can say is that it, even though people are experimenting with it and there's research being done in every aspect of health you can imagine, it's still not a panacea,
Hmm.
and it's as like any medicine, it's not necessarily appropriate for you in your healing journey, like whatever you think you need now. Psilocybin may sound very promising, but it also may not be the appropriate medicine for you. And I think we're sort of in this honeymoon period right now where we think it's the right medicine for everything. And that's just like a natural response to being excited about a new cure. And I would just caution people to be um, a little more critical in their thinking about whether or not it's the right thing for them in that moment. And of course, there's two huge categories on how people are using it. One is microdosing, which is very low risk, and then macro dosing, which has a lot higher risk, particularly for elderly people or people with heart conditions. Um, so it should be treated seriously, especially if you're approaching it from a medicinal standpoint. And it's really wonderful that, there are places that are legalizing it and decriminalizing it, like Colorado, Oregon, Washington, a
Yeah,
lot of
that's awesome.
cities around the
Hmm.
country. It's happening, but we're still trying to figure it out from a social, cultural, and legal perspective. Like we haven't cracked the code on it yet. And what's happening now is like we are collectively, all the people who are doing these experiments and sharing their education and doing these training sessions and learning how to administer the medicine, and really like focusing on giving it credibility. This is the point of the spear. Like we are the collective point of the spear.
Hmm.
And it'll be really interesting to see where we land, where we push through in the next 5 years and how things are. Um, but there's an enormous amount of people who are finding healing and relief from using psilocybin. And I just, I hope that the access to this medicine and the I hope that the access to this medicine and the people that stand up to help guide us through this period remain diligent and in order to benefit all communities.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that some really beautiful times are coming in the very near future. You have also lived several years in Nepal, right?
Mm-hmm.
With your wife. Would you say that the approach to mushrooms in that region, in that culture, is different than in our Western world?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They have a subsistence foraging culture, and that changes. It's not like a blanket thing over the whole country. Obviously, there are places where there's more mushroom knowledge than others. The old traditions are in foraging, wild mushroom identification. The sort of new traditions are in cultivation, and the very, very newest is like still fresh in their culture, which is learning about functional and medicinal mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And so, on one hand, they have this, long. I wouldn't. I don't. I mean, I have to assume that it's ancient in terms of mushroom foraging, but then on the other hand, they're very new when it comes to using mushrooms for health and wellness. And the Himalaya is like another place where it's significantly underdocumented. There's so many species out there that need to be described, and a ton of potential in terms of making those discoveries.
Yeah. Is it, you think, because of the elevation, or does it
It's
is
it's
it an important factor?
elevation, it's
Mm-hmm.
elevation and latitude. So you have the
Mm-hmm.
Himalaya, the tallest mountains in the world, at a low latitude. So in the south of the country, you have the tropics. This is where the lions and elephants and alligators and um, rhinos live in the jungles where it's hot and humid, low elevation. And then, you travel, uh, 100 kilometers north and you get into the subtropics where you start to see, um, uh, a completely different ecosystem, the hill country. And then you go another 25 miles or 50 kilometers north, and you're in uh, the high alpine. And you've gone from bamboo to pine trees to evergreens, uh, and then you go into another valley, and it's the high desert. And so my point is that geographically, there's an enormous amount of different ecosystems in a small space. And so this provides for crazy biodiversity, tons of different mushrooms, and very
Mm-hmm.
difficult to study because those windows of opportunity to study those mushrooms are very small. There's just not enough time and not enough people and not enough resources to look at what's going on in that region, in any one of those regions at any particular time. So it's pretty exciting to think about how much we can still learn there. Um, Actually, I'm working on a film about not biodiversity specifically, but one of the probably the most well-known Nepali mycologist, Diva Shiva Devkota, who basically travels around to these remote regions, training people about how to avoid toxic mushrooms, because every year there's a lot of mushroom eating poisonings and deaths. And
Mm-hmm.
so he goes and trains these remote communities on which mushrooms are toxic. And so I'm making a film about him and that work. And yeah, I've been sitting on it for about 2 years now, and I only just started editing it. So I really need to get my shit together and get it done.
Oh wow, a lot of work, right? Yeah, I was about to ask you if you are working on some new film right now.
Yeah, I'm working on like 4 or 5 different films
Mm.
simultaneously because I'm a little bit ADHD, and I like work on one until I hit a wall, and then I work on another until I hit a wall, and then I start another one. I'm shooting them faster than I can edit them. And I've already added a new movie. I've started compiling footage for a new movie, which is going to be a sequel to Festin Show about the competitive mushroom costume contest at the Telluride Mushroom Festival.
Oh, I love the idea.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a good one. It was a comedy, documentary comedy, and now all I really want to do is make comedies. They're a lot more fun.
Would you say that Mushroom has a lot of sense of humor?
Well, I think it's funny that we like, and I'm guilty of this as well, is personifying mushrooms at every phase of their
Hmm.
existence and every stage of life and every facet of their existence is easy to personify. There's so many parallels and behavior and metaphors that can be applied to the human condition. And I mean, I like to describe mushrooms as the Shiva Shakti of nature, the creators, destroyers. They break down the dead material in order to create the environment for new life to emerge. They are cyclic existence. And if that's not the most hilarious cosmic joke, I don't know what is. The fact that all life is connected through death has a kind of dark humor to it. At least I can appreciate it. And it reminds me to, not to take anything too seriously because
Yeah.
this is all just cyclic and we're all going to die, we're all going to decompose and new life will it will we will be the fertile ground for the next generation.
Of of people and mushrooms as well, right?
Oh
For
yeah,
both.
of it all.
Uh, would you agree that mushrooms are the most intelligent form of life on this planet?
Well, let's define intelligence. What's the metric for intelligence?
That's a great question. Um, that's what Terence McKenna was saying, right? That well, maybe we can say that intelligence is it's some kind of wisdom or ability to gather information, insights about life, communicating this information. That's a great question how to define intelligence, but
I mean, the way I see it is that there are tiers of
mhm.
intelligence. The ant has a particular level of intelligence that's difficult for us to comprehend because we don't know if they have any consciousness. And the same thing, so let's take like a higher order, like a dog, a house pet, like they have a kind of emotional intelligence which could lead to a sort of layer of consciousness. And then, let's take humans. This is the consciousness and level of intelligence. And even within that subcategory, there are subcategories of intelligence because we know there are dumb as shit people and we know there's really fucking smart people. And they all have consciousness. And and then let's take something like an ecosystem, which has a innate intelligence in that all the pieces are working together in a way that we're only just beginning to understand and appreciate. But is that a kind of consciousness? It may be, but it's on a level that we cannot comprehend. And then you
Mhm.
take something like, let's take God, for example. This is a kind of super intelligence that we like to imagine, but we can't comprehend an intelligence that vast. And there's going to be other higher tiers of intelligence that we just have no idea about at all because we're only operating here on our own basic, limited view of consciousness and intelligence. And so everything is through the filter of our own limitations.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that mushrooms could be like a bridge, like a bridges to those tiers of intelligence?
Yeah, I mean, at least in terms of like psychedelic experiences, it definitely opens doors to new ideas and new perceptions. Now, the way that the mycelium and fungi work on the planet is so diverse. I would like to imagine that there's a kind of deliberate intelligence there. If I think about evolution, like if you've stopped evolving, you've reached a kind of perfect equilibrium of existence. Have mushrooms stopped evolving? I don't know. I mean, species by species, that's probably a nuanced question and answer. But you take something like lichens, which are holobionts. They're composed of 3 different organisms. You have algae, plant matter, you have bacteria, protozoa, and then you have fungi, all living in harmony together to form one organism that stopped evolving 2 million years ago.
Wow.
Like, we know that. And so lichens figured it out. All they do is excrete enzymes and digest rock. And that's some perfect form of life that's working so well that they didn't need to change it in 2 million years. But we're constantly looking for new ways to improve our life. And we may have extended our average lifespan pretty significantly in the last 100 years. But I would argue that we're less intelligent than lichens on just the most basic level of existence. If you look at what the purpose of life is, to the best of our knowledge, it's to breed. It's to transmit your genes into the next generation, to eat, shit, and fuck in order for your offspring to do the same. That's a extreme reduction.
Yes, it is.
You've seen that experiment that they did with the mycelium and the oats. I think it was like Japan made
which was
map.
the map of Tokyo subway, right?
Right, and then they let the mycelium run, and the oats were like major centers, like cities and stations. And then the mycelium figured out the most direct routes between the oats, the most efficient way to transmit the nutrients of the oats to the entire organism. And
I think in 24 hours it built a better map than humans done in like 60 years, right? Which is mind blowing.
Something like that. So what was the primary motive of the mycelium? To eat.
To
that
survive,
was all.
to survive.
You eat in order to survive. So there's a kind of intelligence there, but it's also reductionist, where like there's a simplicity to that's enviable. Humans are really good at complicating things.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
I don't know. I mean, like, I like to imagine that planet Earth is a single organism. That has a level of intelligence that we are incapable of understanding, let alone imagining. That it's working on us in ways that we will never fully appreciate, and using things like psilocybin just give us glimpses into that level of complexity and meaning. And I think the mushrooms on planet Earth are a significant part of that ecosystem. like a nervous system, like the
Like a
whole,
nervous system, yeah. Hmm.
or would I say it's a brain? Probably not. I think it would be more aligned with something like a nervous system, but it's responsive and it's adaptive and it's critical to all life on Earth. Humans are incredibly good at and efficient in vaporizing carbon. Like, as a species, we do it so well and so consistently that you could argue that's our purpose on this Earth as a species, in the greater role of the ecosystem, in the greater dynamic of the whole planet. Maybe that's what we're supposed to be doing, is just vaporizing carbon.
Interesting idea. Yeah, but like Alan Watts said, planet Earth is growing people, right? And also growing mushrooms. And we could ask ourselves that philosophical question: why people with organisms with such a DNA, right? And let's hope that that organism, which we call planet Earth, knows what it is doing, right? That it's going to a good direction, right?
I mean, we've only been on this planet for a tiny blink in its lifespan. It'll be really amazing. I think it'll be the greatest achievement of humanity to be here for 5 more blinks or 10 more blinks.
At the beginning of our conversation, you said that we already named all the plants and animals and just a tiny bit of mushrooms, mycelium. Why do you think is that? Until now, humans didn't pay too much attention to this
Well,
part of nature.
we have something like 1 mycologist for every 6 botanists. And mushrooms are very difficult to study because they're ephemeral. They're here today, gone tomorrow. They pop up after the rain, and then they die off really quickly. And then mycelium is invisible almost. These minuscule threads in the dirt. The early attitudes towards mushrooms was, in Western culture was, they're diseased, they're deadly, they're sickening, they're foul pustules emerging from the earth. They're associated with death and decay. And so psychologically, they were a turnoff for many scientists. And I think that plays a lot into it. We didn't even understand that they weren't plants until the 60s. And then it wasn't until, I think it was the 90s or the early 2000s that we discovered that they share more DNA with mammals than they do with plants. We're just late to the game, that's all. But not too late. We'll figure
Not too
this
late?
out. Not too late. There's so many intelligent, inspired people right now looking into mycology, getting degrees, practicing their craft. It's really cool to see so many people wanting to incorporate mycology into their professional life and use mycology as a way to find solutions for our problems as a civilization. I'm very hopeful. There's
Me either.
lots of great people out there doing good work. It's amazing.
Okay, you are also organizing festivals. If someone would like to attend one of those, how people can find
So,
you or find it or help or
yeah. I mean, there's new mushroom festivals all over America now. They're popping up throughout Europe and Canada and Asia. I just became the executive director of the Eagle Mushroom Festival, which is the 2026 version is going to be August 21, 22, and 23 in Eagle, Colorado. We have a website, eaglemushroomfest.com. All the information on there right now is for the festival we just had. But this is just I want to create a space where we can celebrate our collective passion for mycology and get the download from experts and eat delicious food together and go mushroom hunting together and, be in community and have fun. And then, of course, there's the Telluride Mushroom Festival, which I participate in as a sponsor and as a vendor. And then, the parade, of course, is huge. And this is usually the third week of August. Second week, actually, I think next year it's going to be August 12th through the 16th. And this is North America's largest mushroom festival that's been going on for 45 years. So that's pretty exciting and fun. And this is like pretty amazing community to be a part of. And, we want to take that energy from Telluride, that same vibe, that same mix of culture and science and food, and create that at the Eagle Mushroom Festival. Awesome. And of course, it's really about supporting your local mushroom clubs. So for those of you who are interested in learning about mushrooms and curious about mycology, find your local mushroom club and join it. Learn from the local experts in your area.
Yeah, that's a great idea. If someone would like to support your work or buy your products or connect with you, people can...
You can find me on Instagram at Hamilton's Mushrooms. My website is hamiltonsmushrooms.com, where all my products are available, and I ship for free all over the country, and we'll ship internationally if you cover the cost of shipping. And you can connect with me through Instagram. There's contact information on my website. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about medicinal mushrooms or just want to get excited. There's lots of resources on my website to learn about functional and medicinal mushrooms, which we didn't really get into too much here. But I do have a fantastic Amanita muscaria product called Reset, which is formulated to have consistent and efficacious dosing. So if you want to learn about how muscimol can be a solution for your anxiety or your sleeping or, you name it, there's a ton of things that it can help support. You can check it out on my website, hamiltonsmushrooms.com.
Mm-hmm. How about your movies, if someone would like to see or support one of your movie?
So I showcase my films on my website, but they're also on YouTube, Hamilton's Mushrooms. Yeah, I think on YouTube it's just Hamilton's Mushrooms, and you have to kind of scroll back through my catalog to find all my work. But there's a ton of fun stuff to watch there, including the Myco Files, which is my satirical mycological news show.
And what are your plans for nearest couple weeks, months for next year?
Well, I'm going to be going to the Oregon foray, the North American Mycological Association foray in Oregon on Halloween weekend. That's kind of the next big trip. I'm intending on spending this off season, September and October, primarily working on my films and trying to finish up the films that I can. So I'm saying no to a lot of different projects right now so that I can work on my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So good luck with those. And I would like to also mention that as Beyond the Courage, we support this amazing foundation, The Gift of Heart, located here in Chicago. We'll place all the links in the description. At the end, Hamilton, I'd like to ask you, how do you see the future of this coexistence of mushrooms, mycelium, and humans? And what we can do to help this process be more holistic, more conscious?
Fungi have solutions for us. They have the potential to save us from ourselves. And the future is very positive in my view, because there are so many amazing, intelligent humans looking to leverage the power of fungi in order to create meaningful, lasting solutions in our civilization. And that's what's the most exciting thing, is people really see that. And the more people that have healing experiences with mushrooms, be it mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps reishi, like functional medicinal mushrooms, all the way over to more crazy compounds like psilocybin and muscimol, the more people that have meaningful healing experiences, the more people will have meaningful healing experiences. Because when you have a true healing experience, you want to then promote the medicine that saved you. And that's what's happening. It's a kind of snowball effect. As more people heal, more people heal.
Yep.
And that's the good thing for us. And so the future is fungi. What can I say?
Yeah, that's a beautiful message. I've seen this amazing TV series recently called Common Side Effects. Have you heard about it?
I have. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard it's really good, though.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool. It's about a mushroom which could cure actually everything, like especially for us humans. Do you think that such a mushroom exists?
Oh, yeah. It's already out there somewhere. We just haven't described it yet and done the chemical analysis. I think right now we're at the phase where it's a whole combination of mushrooms that can heal us from everything. The cliche is that there's a mushroom for that. And that's a cliche because we're discovering all the time new things about how they're good for us. And you know, it's one of those things where life and art like to imitate each other. Like it's already in the consciousness because we have this great show. And did that show emerge from something that already exists consciously, which is a panacea, an all-encompassing solution to our wellness? Or will that solution emerge because the show exists? And I think both are likely.
Very nicely put. Thank you so much, Hamilton, for an amazing conversation, and thank you for everything you're doing. I really admire your work.
Thank you. Well,
and good luck with your movies and with everything, with your festivals. And,
wonderful. Well, I
appreciate so much work, right, to do.
Oh yeah, it's nonstop. I have to teach myself how to be a better boss to myself. But thank you for having me on your show, Robert. It is a pleasure chatting with you, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you. Same to you. Our guest today was Hamilton Pevec. Thank you, Hamilton, and I hope we see you sometime from now.
Right on. Me too.
Thank you.